heard him. I could hear him rifling through the bathroom. That will be perfect. If he makes a mess, it will be easier to clean off the linoleum and the carpet. The door was ajar. I peered inside, just inches from the opening. His back was to me and the mirror. He was bent at the waist, looking for something in the linen closet. How very fortunate. He wore no shirt and his messy bronze hair was sticking out all over the place. I had to suppress a chuckle when I wondered if the hammer could break through that indignant, annoying helmet. I thought, briefly, to when I had snuck in here last week, when Edward and Bella had been at work. I oiled every door, pounded down every loose floorboard. I didn't need to deal with any mishap on that front. I doubt either one noticed, just assuming the other had done it. I brought 3 fingers up to the middle of the door, and pushed it open just enough for me to slide through. Smiling at my ability to remain silent, I raised the hammer up over my head, flexing my arm, and gripping the wooden handle like a vice. He stood slowly, having found what he was looking for, yet still unaware of my presence in the doorway. He studied his treasure, distracted from what was going on around him. I brought the hammer down as hard as I could. The crack of impact rang in my ears, thick steel shattering bone. He almost didn't make a sound. His green eyes fluttered, as he collapsed into the closet with a moan. I dropped the hammer to my side, and quickly bagged his head. Blood was already oozing out, mixing with that stupid hair. It almost made it look good. It pooled onto the shelf he rested against. I pulled the yellow drawstrings tight, and wrapped them around his neck. I squeezed with every ounce of strength my body had, until I heard no breath against the plastic, then held him for another 20 seconds, or so, just to be sure he wouldn't awaken. I debated, for a moment, where to stow his body for the remainder of the evening. Settling on the spare bedroom closet, I dropped him onto the floor, and dragged him by his arms out of the bathroom. What a coward. He didn't even try to put up a fight. How could he have not known I was in his house? Fucking pathetic loser. Wait to protect your home, asshole. We made it to the bedroom without making a mess. I stomped on his face a few times, after I stuffed him in the narrow space. Not so pretty now, are you, Edward? If I gazed at him just right, he disappeared among the clothes and shoes, just a few more garments to ignore. I had minutes, maybe seconds, before Bella would be home. I suddenly wasn't sure where I should be when she did. You stupid fool. This is why you never get what you want. You're always doing things half-assed. If you were even worth the air you breathed, you would have had a backup plan. I do have a plan. I'm getting Bella. He's gone, and now, she's mine. I bolted down the stairs and through the kitchen just as she pulled into the driveway. Her decrepit truck sputtered as she turned off the ignition. I turned on a few lights and sat on the couch, waiting for her to enter. The door opened, and she struggled with her grocery bags, nearly dropping them. I jumped up. Bells. Let me help, I called lightly, jogging slowly to her.
Oh, thanks,
she said, clearly surprised to see me.
I didn't expect you so soon.
I took most of her bags from her and ushered her into the kitchen. Yep, I was on my way home, figured I'd stop before I forgot. I was behind her. I couldn't let her leave this kitchen without me. She was too nosy, willful, to be trusted to not fight, or not try to get away.
Where's Edward?
Bathroom. I raged. My peripheral vision disappeared, and all I could see was her. Her hair was damp. It hung in thick waves down her back, and over her shoulders. She's mine now. There is no one standing in our way anymore. We could be together, finally. She shrugged her jacket off, pausing her unloading to do, so I reached for it, collecting it from her. She smiled. The lining was warm, and smelled like her. I squeezed the fabric in my hands, rainwater seeped through my fingers, and dripped onto the tile. I set the jacket gingerly on the floor, and took a step toward her. With both arms, I embraced her. One went around her arm and chest. My fingers took hold of her wrist. My right arm wrapped around her throat. You're never to utter that name again, do you understand? I growled into her hair. She screamed, said words I did not hear. I hugged tighter. tighter, until my elbow had raised her head high in the air. The sounds grew calmer, less shrill and infrequent. I pressed her to me. Her body was so small, but strong. I lifted her up, jerking her roughly once more into my body. She went limp and I let go. I kept her in my arms a moment longer, listening to her breathe again, listening to her heartbeat. I laid her on the floor gently. She looked happy, peaceful, sleeping for me. I pawed the hair away from her face, and kissed her warm lips. Her soft breath lightly kissed me back. "Oh, Bella. My Bella." My hands hovered above her face, arms, chest, legs, too excited to decide which to caress first. My eyes welled with tears as they drank in the beauty and glory of what lay in front of them. I retrieved my bag from the closet, making sure all the doors were locked. Her cop father may be dead, but it didn't mean that someone else wouldn't drop by unannounced. She told me once how much she loathed people checking up on her, as if she couldn't look after herself. My Bella was a very responsible woman, level-headed. She could be a bit clumsy, and it amazed me how sometimes, it seemed, bad luck followed her like a lost puppy. It was lucky for her now that I was here. We would be together, and all the bad luck in the world couldn't destroy us. I went back to her quickly. I gathered her in my arms, the way I should have on our wedding night, and carried her to our room. I deposited her with great care upon the bed as I attached restraints to each corner. Securing her as gently as possible, I left the room to let her sleep. In our rush, we had left the groceries out on the counter. "I'll be back soon, love. Sleep well, Bella girl," I murmured, stroking her forehead. She was perspiring. Her skin was aglow in the soft light of the bedroom. It was so perfect that she should have chosen those lampshades. I pointed them out to her one day, years ago. She must have remembered. She was too warm. I shouldn't have covered with the quilt. I pulled it off her and began to remove her clothes. I took my switchblade out of my pocket, and as carefully as I could, I cut the garments from her body. I slid them out from under her and threw them on the floor. It was nearly midnight. She'd been asleep for a few hours now. I watched her, mostly, leaving only to shower and eat. I would have gladly brought her along, but she looked so lovely just lying there. I couldn't bring myself to disturb her. I removed my clothing and climbed into the bed with her. "Bella," I said, a little louder this time. I tapped her cheeks. I squeezed them together, bringing my face down to hers. Her lips were dry, but that was no matter. I licked my own, and brushed them over hers. Lying down, I pressed myself close to her. She was so warm, even naked, so smooth and soft. "Bella, baby," I whispered in her ear, slapping her cheek, "wake up." She stiffened, startled at my hand across her face. She tried to bring her arms down, but the ropes cut into her flesh, keeping her still. My heart was thudding in my chest. She was making me crazy. Her smell, like strawberries and sweat, made my mouth water. It wasn't very polite of her to have been teasing me so cruelly while she slept.
"What the fuck are you doing?"
she whimpered, still straining against the bed. She tried to sit up a few times. I put my hand flat on her chest, and pushed her down. "Lie still, girl. Quiet now. I don't want you to hurt yourself." I snuggled into her, wrapping my arms tightly around her. Her skin was hot and damp, against my bare chest. It sent shivers throughout my body, stirring every desire I had ever had for her. "You're finally mine, Bella. I love you so much."
"Please don't do this. Please."
She was crying. My Bella, she was amazing even when she was sad. "Why are you sad, Bella? I fixed it. We're going to be together forever. This is what we've always wanted. We finally have it." I put my hand over her mouth to stop her cries. They eventually did, and her body stilled as well. I nudged her head over with my nose and inhaled her scent. It was strong and intoxicating. I took a slow, languid taste of her, shivering, as her musky taste hit the back of my throat. I nibbled her ear, taking the lobe in my mouth, just like I remembered she liked. "You are so lovely. You feel so right." Never had she felt as good as she did right then and there. Not in my wildest dreams was she as sweet and loving, as passionate and feral, as she was. I talked to her, She looked away from me alive.